Alrighty, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. It is super late night or early morning, whatever you want to call it. Actually, it's pretty much morning. At least over here. And I can't sleep, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do something productive and do a little bit of grinding. So, last time we managed to complete the sequence of defeating Liquid Flame, escaping from the castle, and we now have our Guardian Dagger, which means we actually deal a fair bit more damage. Now, our current goal is to level up to level 34, and that's kind of all there is to it. I don't remember whether I want to level here, or whether I want to level more to the east side. So these eagles have like 190 or so HP. The problem is that they use tentacles, which inflicts the aging status, which means the next guy, I can probably... Oh, no, never mind. I cannot even one-shot the next guy anymore. So that tentacle thing is a big problem. Also, I just realized we don't have many potions, so I probably want to stock up. You were in bed from like 2 to 3 AM. Yeah, and then you got up because you figured it was futile. Probably. Maybe. At least that's what I tend to do. It's just like... I tried to do all precautions. I stopped looking at blue screens or LED screens for half an hour before going to sleep. I drank some tea and... now I'm just laying here. These zoos have, I think, like 850 HP, so... Originally I thought it was 750, so 3 attacks with this weapon would be sufficient, but unfortunately they do have a little bit more than that. They do have a 1 in 16 chance to drop elixir, so that's actually kind of nice. So there's that. On a semi-random note, I did manage to complete the preparation for the Berserker on console, meaning I leveled up a solo freelancer Ferris and went to the Water Crystal, got the Berserker job at level 15, and now it's just waiting until we get there on emulator, unlocking Berserk from the get-go, defeat the first 4 or 5 bosses, Car Boss, Magisa, Siren, if you want to call Forza separate, and Galura. So 4 or 5, I guess. It's actually pretty accurate. So, one of the problems with the eagle here is that it's in the back row, meaning I will never be able to hit it. One of the benefits of us now having a Guardian Dagger is we now have approximately a 50% chance to dodge attacks? Is it 50%? Let's see. Elf Cape is a 1 in 3 chance to dodge, and then afterwards there is a 1 in 4 chance to dodge, or block I guess, with the Guardian Dagger. So that is a 2 in 3 chance to get hit, and then there's a 3 in 4 chance to get hit. Multiplied with each other we have 2 in 3 times 3 in 4, that is 6 in 12, so yeah, 50% chance to dodge, I think. Yesterday you collapsed, oh boy. Sorry to hear that, Vanakat. That's no fun. Well, I hope you feel better soon. So, basically over here we are in a different area than we were on the left side near Karnak, and we get different encounters. Specifically, the main thing I'm looking for is not getting these encounters here with the eagles, So I may want to stay on the left side, although this might just be just as good. I know it's better for farming turtles in this section over here on the right side, but I'm really not sure how good it is for just straight up farming experience. Also, apparently in Zelda Link to the Past randomizer, there is new techniques such as getting into the pot in the Tower of Hera early, as well as whoa. As well, I just saw the video by the way. As well as doing some other shenanigans in Ganon's Tower, where you no longer need a bow in order to climb it. Brings to you, Abyss Zokzo. Feel free to I guess I am kinda tired, I guess. Feel free to correct me on how to pronounce your name. Feel free to pronounce me on how to correct your name. Sure. We can also roll with that. Oh my goodness! Thank you, Quadlight. Oh, let me actually advance the timer for... I started about 3 minutes, 7 minutes since then. Let's add like 11 to the original. Reset, start. Oh my god. Also I need to... Oh, it already was not global hotkeys. It's just Abyss or Abyss. Alrighty, I think we can work with that. Thank you. I wonder whether this guy is actually in the back room. Maybe I'm just making up things. Ah, I'm just making up things so I can actually hit that earlier. I think I get the concept of how to do that trick. But in case you're wondering, I'm just watching a tutorial video on how to... Why am I attacking that guy in the back? I'm just watching a tutorial video on how to clip into the pot in Tower of Hera, which I feel like goes pretty close to going out of bounds, but I guess not entirely. I wonder if that's allowed in no major glitches. So is the channel point stuff available to all streamers now, and will they use it? Channel points? I might be completely out of the loop here, Quadlight. What are channel points and how can they be applied? I probably should research that, shouldn't I? Speedrun Ragnarok was great. You've been going back and watching some of the VODs. Nice. Viewers get channel points when watching the stream. Oh, basically like a more of an official leveling system in a sense, or point gain system. You can set up stuff they can do with the points. Oh, that's pretty sweet. Let's see. Where would I find that? Channel settings, maybe? Profile accent color. Huh. I had no idea you could do that now. Maybe I should look into that too. Auto hosting, no. Rates, no. Teams, no. Squad stream. No. Drops. No. You can set up what they can do with the points, like unlock an emote for 24 hours or modify emotes and more. Modify emotes? We've seen some channels use it, others don't really want/care yet. Sounds really interesting if you can actually do something alongside the emotes, honestly. Like, some people may just really like one emote, but they just don't want to or can't afford to subscribe for just that one. And that sounds pretty awesome, actually, a nice incentive. Right, now that you mention it, I did read something along those lines, but I think I was busy otherwise, so I didn't really, well, pay much more attention to it. Thank you for bringing it up. And honestly, if it's just a simple little thing that is not too intrusive on the site, I don't see why not use it. Especially if it's like, somebody just wants to use a rhymer. That would be great. I approve of more people using rhymers. You've seen mirror/flipped emotes and some other stuff, but you don't know if those are presets are made by the channels. I see. I would imagine the modifications are made by the channel, maybe. I guess flipping and rotating is kind of a thing you can automate though. Let's see. Channel Points Guide. Channel Points is a customizable points program that lets streamers reward members for their community with perks, including a taste of benefits typically reserved for a subscriber. It's currently in early access and only available to select partners and affiliates. So, I assume I don't have any. Channel Points comes with built-in automated rewards that streamers can customize. Streamers can also create custom rewards that they fulfill on their own, such as choose the next channel I host. No, that's mine. For viewers, channel points are a way to be... Oh, that's not a good encounter here. Because the eagle is going to get to attack twice. Let's see, for viewers, channel points are a way to be recognized for all the ways they are already supporting the community, from watching a channel to being part of a raid. The points they earn are specific to the channel and the points accumulate automatically when they are logged in. The more support they give, the more they'll earn. I wonder whether you'll be able to access these point counts via API. Because that would be great, that way you have a more reliable way of tracking a person's, well, activity. Actually, well, I guess they are not necessarily active, they might just be at round though. Like if somebody's just sitting in the channel 24/7, do they get more channel points? I would guess probably. Thinking face. Also level 28 at some point was reached. Probably should save every level I get. Channel points is a great way to get the community involved and we're just getting started. Try it out and let us know what you think. We'll be working to ensure that it works for every community on Twitch. For viewers earning and using channel points are unique to each enrolled channel and can be earned through various actions such as watching, following and participating in raids. Doing these actions on eligible channels will reward you with channel points for that channel. Tip: channel points can be viewed and accessed at the bottom of the chat window on enrolled channels. So if we had channel points, you could already see it, so we don't have it, I mean. You think they get channel points for watching, but you have to click a button every 10 minutes or something? That seems really annoying. If you're like me, you just have a channel open on the side while, like, doing other things. Mostly listening rather than watching. Having to press a button every so often seems really not so nice. You only need to click the button for bonus points. Alright. That is quite fine, actually. In fact, I guess that's relatively desirable, even. At least as a streamer. I'm not sure about viewers. You get points as long as you have the stream open. You don't have to click, but you can get for more points. I see. What about if you just have a pop-up open of the stream, but you are not actually in chat? Like, you literally only have the pop-up of the stream. You still get points for that? How to earn channel points. Channel points can be earned by watching an enrolled channel at various intervals. After watching a channel for an eligible amount of time, you will receive a click to claim notification at the bottom of the chat window, allowing you to claim your earned channel points. So you have to claim them, otherwise you don't get them, I guess. To claim, click the notification and your community point balance will be updated accordingly. So you have to specifically participate in it. It sounds like a feature that is/was in Streamlabs for a while. Now, integrating into Twitch proper should unlock extra functionality, but knowing Twitch, I expect it should be a worse version of the same feature. I wouldn't be so negative, Xcodes. There's always that possibility, but I always would say, hope for the best, expect the worst. Or actually prepare the worst for the worst. Because if it's very customizable, we might be able to do some creative things with them. You believe you need to be connected to the stream chat? Well, yeah, you need to click the button, apparently. You wouldn't be so negative either, but you're talking about Twitch. No, that's exactly why you're Actually, no, that's exactly what I mean, though. Like, it doesn't matter what it's about, realistically. To me, anyways. I know track history and records and stuff like that all technically matter. But it's not like we can change it. Well, I guess we can give feedback. That may or may not influence things. So... you can technically also add custom rewards for like 1 million points, like Yagagoth returns. I'm not sure about that. Probably not. Channel points that are earned through following and participating in a raid are automatically claimed on your account. But it doesn't stop there. Keep up a watch streak on an enrolled channel when you watch their next broadcast. Watching consecutive broadcasts will increase your watch streak and you will automatically earn additional channel points per consecutive broadcast you watch as long as the watch streak remains intact. Be sure not to miss a broadcast or the watch streak will be broken. Keep up to date with the creator schedule to ensure you don't miss out. Well, that's kinda mean on people like me who just stream at random times at times. Like, that's not... Can I opt out of these multipliers? I hope I can customize that. Tip: having a subscription to a channel will automatically provide a multiplier to the amount of points you earn through watching. Well... I wonder whether we can abuse the system. Like whether you can build up some ridiculous streak by me starting and stopping the stream repeatedly. And you just watch each stream, quote-unquote stream. That would be weird. That's also kind of annoying for people who stream during popular times. Oh yes, it is. Like, my first impression was, alright, that's gonna be quite an interesting feature. But more and more, I'm thinking of a video that I've recently watched that basically compared World of Warcraft current and classic. And it asked the question, is World of Warcraft Classic casual friendly? And that video made actually a lot of really good points as to why it is potentially more casual friendly than the live retail version. Because you don't have to worry about logging in each day and doing your daily missions. You don't have to do a dungeon every day in order to keep up with resources, etc. Like basically the current retail version of that game more or less forces you, if you want to not feel like you fall behind, you have to do something every day. And that's more of a chore rather than interesting. In Classic, you can go as fast or as slow as you pretty much want. There is never really much of a outside pressure. And for me personally, I realized that just because of that, Classic is a lot more casual to me personally. Like a lot more casual. Right now the program seems to be rather rigged. However, if it goes over well, I would imagine more flexibility can be added. Or you mean rigid, not rigged. You can imagine that in about 5 hours we're going to have Magus, Bowie and Voltage streaming at the same time. Right. And I originally had the same stream times too. I'm actually going to walk over back to Karnak and see whether I can get better encounters over there than here. Because here it's kind of an annoyance to get back and buy some potions, because they will run out sooner rather than later. And we don't even need the turtle shells, even though we get tons of them. With the chemist we ended up just grinding here for quite a while in order to get all the turtle shells, but for Bard we're just grinding here for levels. For a while longer. Wait, this isn't the laundry? What? I do not understand. Hey Kansas, welcome. How are you doing? Like, can you just literally tune into a stream for like 1 minute and then you get your watching streak continued? Or do you have to stay around for a certain amount of time? I guess there's more to the entire page that I could read instead of asking these questions that may already be answered. But yeah, let's say Magus streams Ancient Cave for Lufia 2. Which he does kind of frequently. I like having that open just on the side. Because usually I can audibly hear when something interesting is happening. Since that's just how that works with Magus and Ancient Cave. You're doing fine, that sounds nice. So you're supposed to channel hop between all 5 channels for your watch streak. Or have them open at the same time. I don't know. Yep, there's a print in each table there. Earning action, description and points earned. Watching. Non-subscribed viewers receive points each 5 minutes of livestream watching. So you get 10 points every 5 minutes of watching. So I would imagine that you keep a streak alive by just watching 5 minutes and earning the minimum amount of points. Maybe. Active watching. Non-subscribed viewers receive points each 15 minutes of live watching time. Click to redeem. Aha. So basically, subscribers don't even have to click to redeem, they just get it automatically, whereas subscribers have to click. Well, that's annoying. It reminds me of these mobile games, which... It's not like you need to spend money, but it's so annoying if you don't, that it's just like, you pretty much have to. That's just kind of my first impression of it. Watching, as a subscriber. Subscribed viewers receive points each 5 minutes of live watching. Wait, you just said that. Oh, active watching and watching are separate. Oh, I see. Oh, okay, never mind. Never mind. Active watching as a subscriber. Subscribed viewers receive points each 15 minutes of live watching time. Click to redeem. So they still click to redeem, so never mind. So that's not actually a thing. I actually misinterpreted that. Keep reading, Yaga. Subs get double the points. They do. Participating in a raid. Viewers receive points for joining a raid. Well... 250 points for just participating in a raid. Now here's the thing, I don't usually raid. Because I know that a lot of people that watch my channel, they just kinda want to stay here. Because that's what they usually have open. And if I raid, it's just suddenly they're in another channel. They may get an ad and then suddenly everything is loud, whereas previously it's just a nice channel to lurking because it's relatively quiet. That's what you think of Ninja streaming platform? Ninja streaming platform? When ninjas use paid their rooms, do they sign with their real names or what? Well, it depends on whether they want to stay within the legal boundaries or whether they are undercover. Probably. I don't know. Follow. Viewers receive points upon new follow. These points can be earned only once. So you guys have to unfollow me and follow me again if you're already following. Unless they retroactively already assigned them. He likes the streamer ninja on whatever website he moved to. I have no idea about that. I don't keep up with the more popular stuff, because just they are popular. And pretty much none of the people that I interact with do, so I also don't get the news through the grapevines. And Bentley AZ, yes, that's actually a large part of it. Solo Bards sounds rough, you can't use most songs solo since you lock into singing action, right? So here's the thing. Yes, that is very true for a lot of things. Not for everything, but for a lot of things that will be one of the trickier things to manage. Because it locks me into the singing action, and I don't get out of it until the enemy hits me with a physical attack that specifically knocks me out of the singing. It is going to be tricky to manage. Welcome to you, RG. The tricky thing right now is that I have no songs in the first place because you don't get them until after Biblos. And defeating Biblos is, well, kind of a monster challenge in its own right, which is why I level up to 34 even before even entering the library. Requiem will be fun at least? Yes. Requiem will be great. In fact, Requiem will ensure that Neo-X death is not going to be as much of a pain. Twitch's entire existence is to produce money. Well, it is a company that aims to earn money. So to an extent that is true. But then again, I like to think that the people, or at least the developers and the people doing stuff and heading Twitch, hey, nice an elixir. I like to think that these people are actually passionate about what they're doing and that they want to provide a good experience with interesting new things, rather than just stuff to make money. Kind of seems like it's mostly 50-50 on that. They really try, but yeah. Do you disagree that the only purpose of streaming platforms is to annoy people for money? Well, yeah, at least not the good streaming platforms. And to an extent, as a streamer, you do have control over that too. Like, I could be automatically running an ad like every 5 minutes if I wanted to for 3 minutes. And I would probably get a good chunk of money out of it. But then again, there's a lot of people watching me that are not subscribed because they either don't want to, which is perfectly fine, or they can't afford it. And I really don't want to annoy these people, because I perfectly understand that. We gained a level 29. I'm actually curious, when is my next attack power up? Because then we might defeat Zoo in 3 attacks. Let's see. We are currently level 29. And in fact, right now is my next attack up. Wait, is it? Alright, tentacle already. Let's run. 29. Oh, ha! No! It's not. My next attack up is actually at level 34 by itself. Right now at 29 I deal less damage than I did before. Because of how the agility works. We basically just lost the agility bonus. We will get it back at level 34. At level 32 we get a strength bonus. If streaming platforms are for streaming, then money comes second, but helps the first. Yeah. Why are the teammates on the floor? Are they taking a nap without covering? Yeah, they are expert at napping. I think that is pretty much how it works. Like, they can just sleep anywhere. It doesn't matter whether it is on the beach, on the grass. Hey, nice. What elixirs from Zeus are 1 in 16 drops, so good luck so far. 2 already. I predicted I need like 40 elixirs for Biblos. Maybe that's a little bit exaggerated, but it really largely depends on how lucky we get after we run him out of MP. Where do you get trained in becoming an expert in sleeping? Well, I think their process usually involves hitting themselves with a mithril knife. I don't think it's a particularly healthy way of going to sleep, to be honest. Capitalism is a degenerate state, and any profitable platform will inevitably be purchased by a company that answers to shareholders who demand unsustainable, perpetually increasing profits. Yeah, let's not get too far into politics, by the way, just as a heads up. But I see where you're coming from. I definitely see where you're coming from. And all we can really do as consumers is just hold the producers and the people offering their products to high enough standards that, well, hopefully it stays within reason, or something like that. I'm not sure how to put it. You hope Yag gets that joke. Which one? I don't think I got it, because I don't know which joke you're talking about. Hold the resources and stop promoting some products or services by not buying them / paying for them. Hold the resources? By the way, fairies with grey hair, like as a bard, looks pretty awesome. Just as a random thought. And yes, Regisin. I think that is rather accurate overall. The trick is usually that the things that are implemented, they are implemented in a sneaky way in order to just kind of keep people buying and spending more money. That's just how it usually works. So skepticism and critique is definitely necessary to an extent, but then again, I just really think we should try to apply the idea of expect the worst and hope for the best. Something like that. Because really, realistically, what is the badge for that tells you whether you are one of the first 25 or 50 subscribers? I actually don't even know the number in a channel. That badge is basically to promote the idea of, hey, this guy is a new affiliate, maybe I should subscribe to be one of the first ones. I personally just don't care for badges, so it doesn't affect me, but there's that kind of subconscious thing for many people that it's just kind of... it's intriguing to them, whether they realize it or not. And honestly, the trick about affiliates is, in my opinion, that you only get paid by Twitch once you reach a certain threshold of amount earned. So if you earn, like, with let's say a bunch of subscribers, you earn like $10 a month. You need to wait 10 months or so. Actually, I don't remember the number. You need to wait like 10 months or so in order to get paid. So one of the processes that I feel like part of the Twitch economy is banking on is people never getting paid because they never reach the threshold for getting paid out. That's just kind of my impression, where a lot of the money is going to come from for Twitch, and that kind of promotes that idea too. Where it's like, well, incentivize subscribing to new channels. Maybe that's a bit too, what's the word, cynical. But that was my first thought. The Founders Badge, that one, yes. It's an interesting topic though. It works if the shareholders are willing to accept sustainable profits instead of escalating profits. Right, long term instead of short term. The thing is, shareholders, I feel like, often don't care about long term, because they will just sell on the first sign of the platform declining and just do that to the next platform. That's just kind of how I would think it works, without actually knowing anything about it. That's just my naive view, I guess. Delicious FOMO, fear of missing out, if you're not familiar with that acronym. Oh yeah, I'm familiar. FOMO is a real thing. And it's not like I'm immune to that concept. But it doesn't apply to me for a lot of things. It's just very specific for me. You got more points for playing the game wrong. Yeah. I mean, that's subjective, I would say, Bentley. Whether you would think playing that game this way or that way is wrong. But then again, as I said, I kind of understand where you're coming from. Likewise, capitalism is supposed to reward a solid, sustainable model, but you get more points for maximum short-term profit increases. Well, yeah. Reminds me a little bit of like how tournaments are set up. And so that might be a bit of a tangent and kind of on the side, I guess, relevant or related. But you saying that just kind of reminded me of how I read about a tourney or a tournament for tennis players. And in that tournament there was one incredibly powerful and strong player that just happened to be seeded already into a certain bracket. And people knew, or the players knew, that if they actually win or place first in their group, they would play against that player. So they actually specifically aimed to be placed second, and deliberately threw matches, which is of course very unsportsmanlike, and the tournament organizers really didn't like that because it wasn't a good show, people were not playing to their best, etc, etc. However, the argument can be made that it's more of the tournament organizers and creators' fault that this kind of situation can even occur and happen in the first place. Actually, I'm not even sure where I'm going with this at this point. I'm not sure where I started either. Ryan reminded me of it. The limited time bit to unlock emotes thing is pretty sneaky, I think. It is very sneaky, but then again, if I can just provide some people with something for free that is just kind of naturally occurring anyways, why not? If some people like... So the thing is, there's always some people that try to get competitive over point system. And that's just going to be no different here. There's going to be some people that just want to get the most points and see whether they can unlock certain rewards or something like that. Which is kind of where I feel like me as the streamer, having certain agency over how the rewards are going to look and are going to be distributed, I need to think it through very thoroughly. So, to an extent you want to reward people that are active and like subscribers, for example. But then again, on the other hand, you don't want to demotivate and, for that matter, punish people who don't, really. And that's kind of my entire thing that I try to balance out. Also, again, let's not go too far into politics. Maybe, Bentley, you probably want to define what you mean with that word. As in, you're already doing this, but maybe try to use a different word, because that does have a rather negative connotation rather than descriptive one for, at least from a casual layman's English view. Which is actually an interesting topic. Oh, nice, another elixir. Which is an interesting topic in my opinion. Sometimes you just talk with each other and you don't even mean or talk about the same thing, because you didn't ensure that you are, well, talking about the same thing. Communication is complicated. It very much is. Some words are unavoidable. Some words can be very unavoidable, especially if one word just very accurately pinpoints and describes what you mean. But the meaning for people who are either not as, well, native to English as I am, or just straight up come from different parts of the world, the same words can mean different things. So it's really important to just define what you actually mean if you want to talk about a topic. Like when you say the word degenerate, my mind automatically wanders to something that is like just really, well, overly negative, honestly, rather than it being a technical concept. I kind of get the idea of what a technical concept of that description would be about, but I don't actually know per se. And that's kind of where you get into a rather difficult and also, I would say, even dangerous territory for discussions. When you kind of have an idea of what people mean, but you don't actually know. I hope that makes sense. Oh, Tenesper, thank you! Thank you very much for subscribing for 11 ROMs. Welcome back, and I'm glad you enjoy your stay. Thank you so much. I wonder if I should go back to the right side for encounters. And welcome to you, Jakwoma. Hope you're doing well. The reason that word is used is because a specialized strategy becomes even more specialized over and over, like a copy. I see, so that basically explains a lot more on what it's about. So thank you for explaining. But yeah. Let's not go into the more broad sense and stay rather local to at least the stuff at hand. Or Twitch and stuff. I guess another thing is that, depending on your age, language can also warp dramatically. Like, when I was a kid, calling something or somebody gay was an insult. Nowadays, that is unacceptable. For a good reason, obviously, because it's supposed to be a descriptive thing, or a concept for that matter. But the thing is, if somebody is older, or younger than me, they might never have realized that this was, at some point, used as a negative term. And honestly, that's a good thing if they never knew that. But then again, it can raise some complications if somebody, for whatever reason, never learned that it's not actually an insult anymore. Or, yeah. Actually, let's not go too far in that direction either. Because that is kind of, what's the word? I'm not good at talking. Was your Bard challenge the one you were considered starting up a Berserker run at the same time for? Yes, Glower Power. A rabbit hole, there we go. I think rabbit hole is pretty much what I was looking for. The concept is often used in game design to describe a situation where the way the game is designed has accidentally ended up encouraging a strategy that's way more powerful than any other strategy for reasons the designers didn't intend and may have actively hoped to avoid. Ah, I see. Yes, alright, Ian. I think it starts making a lot more sense now. That sounds more like an oopsie. Well, maybe. Let's see. Can you think of a game where that is actively the case? For example, where something that is certainly not intended ends up being the best strategy because that's just how it ends up working. Like something that even in casual play you would want to do. Like, in a sense you could say 3D Zeldas like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, just walking backwards being so much faster than forwards. That's more of a speedrun thing. You don't necessarily do that in casual. But what else? Spamming because the spell is too strong and you end up working as a bot. Well, but that's still technically the intended design of a spell. Unless there's an entire system that should encourage you to switch up spells one way or another, or something like that. An example would be Morrowind, where there's a skill you want to use as your main strat. You want to avoid making it one of your specialty skills in character creation. What, really? How is that? That sounds weird. Ah. Because the enemies scale to the level of your specialty skill and ignore your off skills. Oh. Okay, that's kinda messed up. You're basically gaming the system at that point. Which... I'm personally already not a fan of enemy scaling dynamically. And that kind of makes it even worse. Yeah, that doesn't sound fun. You can gain power without leveling when you use non-major / minor skills. Oh. Sounds like Final Fantasy VIII. Which, by the way, I don't actually exactly know how the junction system works in 8, but that's kind of my impression of it. You just grab a bunch of items, transform them into something else, and you're suddenly way more powerful than the enemies. While actively avoiding the leveling portion, because leveling is bad for you, because the enemies grow stronger. You like games where if you make a plan and execute it well, the game should reward you for it and not punish you for performing well. Yes, I agree. Which is at least for me a big part as to why I don't like enemies dynamically scaling. Because if I just figure out, okay, these enemies have exactly 190 HP, if I use level 1 ice, because it costs less mana, on a single target, it just knocks out one just barely. But then I would gain a level and suddenly it doesn't knock them out anymore because my damage doesn't scale as quickly as the enemies gain HP. Then that's just annoying. Also, we're level 30. 4 more levels to go. We already got 3. The case of economics and stockholders get way more benefit from strategies that don't actually benefit the companies. They're gaming the system and it end up wrecking into the platform since life journey at least. I can see where that applies. That makes sense to me. I think I now fully understand what you mean. Well, like 80% is probably accurate enough. I do not have in-depth knowledge enough. Yeah, thank you for clarifying, Bentley. Sort of like Final Fantasy V, you like this game because in reality you can make almost any combination you want and still win and feel good about it. Yes. It's definitely true. This game here is really nice in that it allows many strategies to work. Sure, some are probably strictly more powerful than others, but hey, you can choose your playstyle and you don't have to worry about it not working as long as you, well, work it well. Obviously something like just using 4 White Mages because you think that's the most interesting way to play is a bit on the outer edge where it's not gonna work as well. But for the most part, you can have 3 White Mages and 1 other thing and get through the game just fine, as long as it's not a thief. You get kinda carried away. That's fair. But yeah, actually I'm curious about other examples for games that also have that kind of problem, where something that was not supposed to be a major aspect or even necessarily part of the main gameplay ends up becoming that. A lot of roguelikes have had stuff like that. I see. I mean, I guess we could also say, what about games that patched out things, because that was not how it worked out. Wave dashing in Smash Bros. Melee is another example. Ah, I think that's a really good one. It wasn't an intentional mechanic, but it demonstrates the gameplay. I mean, in a sense, it was programmed the way it is, and it's not technically wrong, but yeah. Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup used to have a lot of mechanics like that, and they've since been removed. And that's kind of where I'm in two minds about that entire thing, personally. When you find a clever strategy, and it's really obscure and just works, it's pretty awesome. On one hand, I think I love to use obscure strategies if they just really work well and you feel clever for figuring them out or even applying them, etc. But if it literally overshadows the entire game, because suddenly... well, let's put it this way. If it overshadows the entire game because it's kind of part of the core mechanics that you need to be able to execute, and you have to like pay attention to it at all times no matter what you do, then it's a bad thing. But if it's just a strategy that you can pick and choose among like 20 other decently viable strategies, maybe not as strong, but viable nonetheless, then I feel like people or developers should not patch these out, in my opinion, usually. You're not even going to get into right or wrong, it's just saying it's not intentional. Yeah, that's kind of what you meant earlier with the it's not about morality. It's not about right or wrong. It makes sense. They gave... in Crash, they gave dash plus spin some weird increased speed. Is that a intentional mechanic though, or is it just kind of the result of two effects kind of working together in a slightly weird way? You might to use strategy in competitive games and real life. In single-player games, it's not like it hurts anyone. Exactly! Exactly. Yet I see so many developers patch these strategies out of the game in single-player games. And it's like, why? Why do you do that? There's been more than one game where I felt like there was a mechanic that I found really intriguing. It was decently strong, to say the least. But they just patched it out because... I guess it was too strong? I don't know. Actually, I would like to tell you an example, but I can't think of one. I just remember that this happened a few times though. You wouldn't even consider cheating in single-player games as cheating, because who are you cheating? Yourself? Yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, cheating is what makes the games fun for them. As well, again, single-player games, as you just said. And I agree, because it can be a really fun aspect. If you look at a built-in cheat menu, such as Civilization 2, that's a really old example, but Civilization 2 allowed you to just literally gain units, take over things, and gain money, etc. You are labeled as a cheater in the scoreboard if you do that, but it's a lot of fun to just play around with it, because why not? And yes, Age of Empires 2 is an excellent example too. Hey, nice, another elixir. Age of Empires 2 is a really good example, or like Heroes of Might and Magic 3. Those are just You know, you've been fighting this guy for so long, and now you just realize that your strategy just doesn't work out and you would have to restart the entire campaign. Sometimes you just really don't want to do that and you just want to move on, because the alternative would be not to restart, but to just stop playing the game instead. And you kinda want to continue the game, but not here. Just use a cheat device or a cheat code. And I think that's perfectly fine. In fact, that is probably desirable when people can't take these shortcuts. And hey, Mr. Holmes, welcome. It's going quite well, thank you. How are you doing? You had to use cheats to actually play Gothic 2 without getting horribly beaten down by every fight. I believe it. I actually have never played it myself, but I've seen what it can be. Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening can steal things from the shop to save on rupees, however your save name is changed to Thief. Yes. And yes, it is pretty awesome. Nice touch. Enjoyed it all the way through invincibility. Yeah, that's also why it's really nice to have games where they give you like a story mode. And to an extent, this is also where it is nice if the game gives you the option to change difficulties on the fly. Even if I personally don't like being able to do that, for my own reasons, that I cannot even put properly into words, because I actually have no idea why. I think that's a good thing. L'hiver? Oh, that's basically spring in French, isn't it? Is it? Hang on. My French might be off. I think it's a season. It's winter. Ah, yeah. I knew it was a season, but I forgot which one it is. Or the winter, for that matter. You just made a huge batch of caramel popcorn at 1 AM, so you're both tired and white. Oh, goodness. Well, I hope you enjoy your popcorn. You're gonna be honest, you games you need Earthbound to give yourself endless healings because the story is fantastic, gameplay as well, shall we say, not well aged. Yeah, that's fair. Let me put it this way, I actually really enjoyed the gameplay in Earthbound when I played it a fair bit later. The story was intriguing and quirky, to an extent, but not necessarily my cup of tea, generally speaking. But it was fun enough. But actually, overall, found the game to be like in so many RPGs. In the beginning, you actually struggle a lot, but as soon as you get a certain amount of resources, it becomes relatively trivial. Like, once you level up to a sufficient degree, you get certain abilities, and suddenly you have all the tools to deal with all the enemies, whereas before, you had to deal with certain enemies in suboptimal ways, or you just couldn't really, like, force or nuke down a specific enemy, etc. Which is I dare to say, a problem with many RPGs, especially older ones. Like, Wizardry 6, when I played it again, was pretty much the exact same way. The beginning is monstrous. And later on, I did not need to save as frequently as I still did, because I was still used to it from the early game, but it was so much easier, because we suddenly had abilities that actually did a lot of things. You like super old school Dragon Warrior mechanics with all their rough edges? Then Earthbound is fine. It wasn't really up to the grind. Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense to me. Earthbound went from pretty dull to fun as you get more parliaments. I actually agree with this. In combat at least, yes. I think that's probably an important distinction. Made homemade caramel sauce before. It's so good. Caramel is a weird topic to me. Sometimes I like it, other times I don't care. It's interesting. What? You mean cannonballism, where you shoot people out of cannons in order to travel the land because falling damage doesn't exist? Sure, we can go with that. I'm just trying to think of other games that had mechanics that were supposed to be just kind of side things. And ended up being just a major strategy instead. I guess the one thing I could spontaneously think of was in World of Warcraft, Wrath of the Lich King was just released. Some people discovered a rogue build that used the ability called Shift. Shift was basically just there to not necessarily deal a whole lot of damage, but activate or specifically apply poison to a target. And for some reason, if you did that with certain weapon and poison combination, it started doing a ton of damage. So basically it was a mechanic that was supposed to just apply the poison guaranteed rather than it being a chance to poison, because you really wanted that poison active. And instead it was taken and turned into a damaging ability just because the mechanics could be abused as such. What other examples in games would there be, I wonder? Usually in older games I tend to feel like that there is a variety of strategies that are crazy powerful. Like Sigurd of Mana comes to mind. Spamming spells is really, really powerful, but once you get the critical hits buff spells, that's also crazy powerful. Healing is really powerful. There's just a different way you can approach things at times. But those are all technically intended, even if some are just maybe a bit stronger than what you would normally or usually do nowadays. Then again, it's kind of fun to not have enemies to be too bullet spongy, for that matter. Let's see. You have played plenty of strategy games that are too hard and you need to do the right thing. You much prefer games with multiple paths to victory and just casual good times. Yes, I absolutely understand that, and I agree, actually. I like difficult games, but it needs to be the right kind of difficulty for me. Or, alternatively, the game needs to allow me to have different strategies that I can employ. I keep coming back to it, but this is why I think Scapegoat 2 is such an amazing game. It's a puzzle platformer, but in almost every level, there's usually a way how you can solve the puzzles properly, and you don't have to be particularly good at platforming mechanics in order to do everything. You can just do things. But, alternatively, you can just be really good at platforming and beat a lot of the levels with that instead. With really tight timings and tricky jumps. And that's why I really like that game. Because it just kind of offers that variety where you just naturally find your own middle ground. EverQuest Bard had some crazy near game breaking stuff they could do with point blank area of effect songs. Interesting. In classic EverQuest there was an ability for Bards that would raise your faction with the target. However, they tied it to an instrument and didn't put a cap on it. So you could equip a flute with a high multiplier and max out the faction with an NPC to get the best rewards immediately, and was 100% not intended. Whoops. In Octopath Traveler, the enemies were too strong for me. They seemed to scale. Ah, the scaling problem. I'm just trying to think of single-player games examples too. In online games and multiplayer games, I think there is probably more to find though. We've definitely gone back and beating it the hard way. It is fun. Nice. EQ had a lot of delightful jank in between all the grinding. Nice. That sounds a lot like Ragnarok Online, honestly, to me, whenever I hear stories. It's like, it's super janky, but hey, it's fun. Hey, in Ragnarok Online, I built a Crusader that its main focus was throwing the shield. So, I had to very specifically build for that. I had to get a 4-socketed weapon, put 4 cards in it that increase my damage against a specific creature type. Then on top of that, I needed to get the heaviest shield in order to deal more damage, because shield damage was based on weight. Then on top of that, I used a card which was pretty much never used that specifically increased the shield boomerang throwing damage. Then on top of that, I only ever put any points into strength and some into intelligence to sustain my magic points. And then on top of that, I used the secondary account to specifically use a Soul Linker to buff my Crusader. So Shield Boomerang could never miss and dealt 100% more damage, and all these things multiplied so nicely together. I could farm in the weirdest places. It was pretty awesome. Like, you just take one ability and hyper-focus on it in Ragnarok Online, and suddenly you come up with an interesting build in order to take advantage of it. That's kind of neat. It's not necessarily unintended, that's just how that game works though. MMOs are a great place to find these strategies because you've got hundreds of thousands of competing players all trying to find the ideal strat at once. It's true. Although, in a lot of cases, people kind of start getting locked into the optimal strategies that have been discovered to that point. And it's very difficult to find strategies that branch off earlier than what is currently the optimal strategies, because they would require you to, like, start with an entirely different approach. And only people who like to just explore or have a very deep understanding of mechanics and suddenly see a different way from the beginning tend to find these strategies. And I think there's a lot of these strategies that just kind of go unnoticed or completely forgotten for the longest time, until somebody stumbles upon it, which I always love reading or listening or hearing about these stories, like when it's not just the MMO gave out a patch in order to buff something and suddenly everything is overpowered in conjunction with that. That's kind of that just happens all the time. But when there's a strategy that just hasn't been discovered for the longest time, that's always when I am super intrigued and want to hear the stories about it. You really like Slay the Spire for having lots of different ways to quote-unquote break the game. Infinite combos, exponential growth, etc. You have to have a good eye and some luck to get them, but it's so satisfying to the player to get them. There's lots of ways to do it. Nice. 100% grinding in Diablo 2 with the sources, Endurance of Hate. Nice. Yeah, I've done that too. This is going to be an obscure one. There was this muck/text-based RPG clone of Final Fantasy 1. You could focus on getting skills, however you could get dash/bash. These abilities were tied to your strength and your weight. Normally, if you're maxed out your weight, you cannot pick up anything more. However, if you buy something from the auction house, you could get unlimited weight and one-shot everything in the game. Nice. In Hitman 2, you almost look for the best strategy and then you try your own. I like that Vanicut. That's pretty awesome. Did you know that, well, at least for me personally, nice, we are level 31 by the way. Did you know that, in my opinion, knowing the solution to a puzzle in a game, or a puzzle game that allows for multiple different solutions, can actually be really intriguing and inspiring to try and find out more and different solutions on top of it. Because suddenly you go, huh, I wonder whether this works too. Baba Is You is an excellent example of that, where it's like, I did this. Wait, I wonder whether this works too, and it does work too, and it's great. We need more potions. There was an old version of Tomb, where there was a class that could turn its armor into attack power, and there was some wacky interaction with shield enchantments multiplying each other. So the ideal way to play the class was to dual wield shields and shield bash enemies into red mist. Nice. I love it. Honestly, I love the concept of dual wielding shields. And it's actually a very viable strategy in Phantasy Star 4, where shields provide a pretty substantial amount of defense, and your more squishy members otherwise tend to get nuked if you don't give them 2 shields. What is Tome, or T-O-M-E, if I may ask? Tales of Maj Ayao. Yesterday you were minutes before solving and then you want to try something. Boom, lost. Ah, I see. It's a roguelike, as in a real roguelike. I see. Tales of Maj Ayao, formerly Tales of Middle-earth, formerly Pern Angband if you're a grumpy old roguelike fart like you. Alright. It's a pretty good roguelike and has many good playable classes. Nice. Nice blocks. I actually just had another example, but it kind of slipped my mind again. Where did I get the example from? Oh well. Chrome has its problems, but it's definitely one of the noteworthy old-school roguelikes, especially in terms of managing to have an interface that won't make people used to modern games vomit. Huh. Interesting. I've tried out Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup. I never got particularly far, but it was kind of neat. Well, maybe I should give that one a try as well. I think that's why Lufia 2 Ancient Cave is so much fun for you. So many different combinations and elements of luck. You can have a strategy, but you have room to try out your own things. It's true. What I did as a kid is I used... Because I realized that there's not a whole lot of healing, or at least not reliable healing in the Ancient Cave, I really liked using the capsule monster that can potentially heal you. Just for that. And that's kind of where I had my deepest delves and dives into the ancient cave with it. Lately I've been playing Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead, which is an open-ended zombie apocalypse roguelike with pretty steep learning curve. Let's see. Yeah. Unless I'm, for some reason, hooked from... well, any reason really. I don't tend to enjoy currently learning or getting into games that have a steep learning curve. Currently anyways. And greetings to you, Don Luza, thank you. And I hope you have a nice day as well. Good morning. Alright, fair enough. I just saw your post, Quadlight. Fair enough. You are a ninja after all. Ninjas have to stay invisible. By the way, we could technically go up to level 35, which gives us an additional 49 HP. But it's also a lot of experience more. Unreal World. Oh, actually, I got another one for the topic of mechanics that were intended to an extent, but not necessarily intended to be abused to the extent that makes them a really crazy strategy. Wizardry 6 actually does have a strategy like that, where the best strategy is to class change as often and as frequently as you can. Because that just kind of boosts your HP. Whenever you class change in that game, you retain everything except for the ability to cast higher level spells, but your HP stays the same, etc. And because you then, when you class change, return back to level 1, you kill like one enemy, and suddenly you're back up at level 4. And then you class change again, etc, etc, and you keep gaining your HP and also magic points per level as if you were still leveling up the normal way. Class changing is very much intended and multi-classing is very much encouraged, but just kind of keep class changing like that, and specifically choosing like class combinations and race combinations for classes is highly abusable. Isn't there level 52 or something in the library? That's a good point. That's a reason not to go level 35. But then again... no, actually it's true. Because I could defeat Ifrit and then I get level 52. That is entirely possible. Indeed you have. Alright, that's nice. And I'm glad you like watching my channel where I derp sometimes and forget to attack the correct enemy. And that's what happens. Ooh, nice. 1 in 16 chance for an elixir. I think that was the 4th or 5th one we've gotten this one here. That's pretty decent. I think 33 is probably going to be sufficient to try and see whether we can make any headway at Byblos. By the way, if we don't manage to beat Byblos at level 34, the next best station would be at level 41. Probably. Oh wow. Hello! That's a lot of people. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, and welcome everybody. I hope you're doing well. Hello, Pren, thank you so much for the host. I really appreciate that. How are you doing? I'm currently doing a early morning / late night, whatever you would like to call it, stream where we're just talking about random things like video games while grinding out a character in a solo character challenge run for Final Fantasy V. A solo Bard, which is one of the more ridiculous ones to make a solo character challenge with. But yeah, welcome. By the way, anybody who does not know Pren is really awesome and has a really nice and relaxing chill channel that you can watch. She does some art, but also Stardew Valley, and both of these things are actually really neat to just kind of have on the side, listen to while you're doing other stuff. Can recommend. You're good. Hey, that's nice. Well, let's put it this way. I should be sleeping, but, well, it doesn't work, so here I am. So, I'm doing okay. Probably. You love Final Fantasy V Bards, but as you said, solo Bard, oof. Yes, that's exactly how it works. Bards are incredibly powerful in group, with their buffs and boost spells, or well, magic songs. But on its own, a Bard has incredibly low stats in offense and defense and health and almost everything except magic power. Which we can't really use the magic power since we don't have any spells to use them with. And there's no weapons to use magic powers with either. So we're kinda stuck with basically a magician or mage type character that cannot use spells. Plinking everything with a dagger. Until they are gone. Or they give up. Either one is fine. So our current level goal is level 34. I think we have it level 31 right now. Level 32 we will start dealing the same damage again that we dealt at level 27 and 28. Which is silly because you would think whenever you level up your damage only goes up. But Final Fantasy V is a bit weird sometimes. And there happens to be a bit of an oddity with dagger weapons, where sometimes your agility gets counted for additional attack power, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on a combination of your level and agility, and whether the resulting modular operator of the number is above or below 128 or something like that. I actually forget exactly how I calculate it. But the short version is, from level 28 to 29 we actually lost damage, and we will regain it from level 31 to 32. And then from level 33 to 34 we actually gain more attack power, thanks to strength. Mage Dapka cannot use spells, yes. I'd actually say a solo character challenge run with the sprite in Secret of Mana is more reasonable without magic. Alrighty. Have a good sleep, rest well, Pren, and thank you so much for the host. Once again, welcome everybody. If you like a bit of background noise, you could say, feel free to just kind of stick around and enjoy. For anybody who may not know this game here, this is Final Fantasy V. It is a Super Nintendo JRPG, Japanese RPG, where it's mostly turn-based. You do have a ATB at the bottom right, where it fills up, you can take an action. There's some more intricacies to that, but that's accurate enough anyways. And Final Fantasy V allows you to switch and swap between any job at any time you want with any of your 4 characters. And the idea is normally that you kind of mix and match characters or classes together. For example, you can level up as a Black Mage, so you can use Black Magic. And with that Black Mage, you learn or gain skill points or job points, ability points, whatever you want to call them. And these points allow you to, well, use their Black Mage magic on other characters, and also transfer certain parts of stats to other characters. For example, if you give Black Magic to another character, they gain a portion or even all the Black Magic power on that other character. An excellent combination for that reason, for example, is if you have a ninja, which has the ability to throw items, and some of these are like fire, lightning and water scrolls, and these scrolls are based on magic power. However, ninjas don't inherently have that much magic power, and the scrolls are decently strong even without the magic power, but not nearly as good as if you put, well, black magic or white magic or time magic or summoning magic or whatever else magic there might be onto ninjas, so they increase their magic power stat. And suddenly the ninjas with their fire scrolls or water or lightning scrolls deal a lot more damage. And it's actually pretty awesome. So that's kind of the idea of this game. However, a solo character challenge run with this game, the idea is that I have exactly one character with one job, and that's how I try to beat the game with. It is proven that you can technically beat the game with every single solo character. However, the Berserker might be a bit of a special case, but everything else you can probably do under 100 hours. Well, maybe White Mage takes a bit longer than that. Gaia is another real fun one to put in my class with real magic power. Yeah, that's true. Gaia is actually really nice because you learn Gaia really quickly. Gaia is from a Geomancer, and Gaia is also really nice to just put on any character where you don't know what else to put on, because it can just be situationally useful. Sometimes it's completely useless though. That's just how it works. I do think Gaia actually transfers the Geomancer's magic power to other characters, which the Geomancer's magic power is actually decent. It's not nearly as good as the pure mage classes, but it's kind of okay. And so it would increase like ninjas, scrolls, or other similar things as well, I think. And yes, that sounds about right, Bentley. Another nice thing about Gaia is that it just doesn't cost MP. And if you have ever had a summoner and made heavy use of summoner abilities, you know they burn through MP incredibly fast. Yeah. Personally, at this point, I don't underestimate Gaia, but I am very well aware of its limitations. Having done a Geomancer playthrough, and effectively defeated Xdev at the end of World 2 as a mage character, the Geomancer, with just a dancing dagger. Well, it just kind of highlights the limitations of it, I guess. But you don't want to use it. It was pretty decent against Neo Xdev though. But getting to Neo Xdev was a journey and a half. Thankfully the dancing dagger exists. Yes. Bard will have a better strategy against X-Step at the end of World 2. A much better strategy. And no, it's not running him out of magic. So ideally you want to combine it with something that actually kills bosses? Yeah. To be fair, Gaia can be really good on some bosses, like Archeo Avis, for example. But also completely useless on other bosses, like Soul Cannon. Or mostly useless, like X-Step. Honestly, the biggest shame I feel like for Geomancer class is that there's not really any bells that have particularly high attack power. The bells actually scale like crazy with agility and magic power, and they would be so ridiculously good if only there was a bell that had a bit more attack power than what you can get. The Rune Bell at least is actually kind of okay if you want to use it as an attack weapon. But only if you, well, basically spend 5 MP every attack. It still gets, well, overshadowed by other weapons instead. But it's actually kind of alright. If only there was another bell though, that had like 30 or 40 more attack power. Like just a bell that had the same attack power as like Assassin's Dagger. You would destroy a lot of things with it. Assassins? Or wait, how they are called in Lufia 2? Assassins? Or assassins? Something like that. You're used to Forge of Fiesta stuff, where a lot of people trash talk Geomancer because it lives in the same crystal as Ninja and Bard. Ah, I see. I usually play random or chaos, so it doesn't exactly apply. I like having a Geomancer in my team. Nice, another elixir. Like the 7th one already. Also at level 32. Nice. Just 2 more levels. It comes from a town of mercenaries, I think, the word assassin. Actually, I have no idea. I just know that the Lufia 2 English translator also had no idea about mythics and mythical beasts. Or video games in general. They tried their best, but their best was... questionable? Questionable. Let's roll with that. In Spanish it only has 2 S letters, but in English they had to double down. Alright. It originally comes from Hashishins, an ancient order of secretive religions warriors in the Middle East. Interesting. Based on that, actually the Lufia 2 version of the word is almost the closest. Weird. Mid-16th century from French or from medieval Latin, assassins from Arabic Hasisi, Ashashi eater. Etymology is weird. But so is the word. Yes, alrighty. There were a lot of rumors about their mystic abilities and secret killing missions, similar with the ninjas. I see. I didn't realize that it's more of an Orient type thing rather than a Asian thing. Well, I guess that's technically Asia too, isn't it? That's his name. Interesting. Hashish eat the name. Interesting. Some drugs can make those guys more vicious, reasonable because why would they want to stop if they commit crimes from one thing to the other non-stop? Ah. Well, who knows? Yeah. This is kind of where history just goes into hearsay, mythology, and all these things. Nine potions left. I want to get encounters not in the woods or in the forest for that matter. That way they give more experience. The wolves give really good money, but I'm not after the money. Plus they also, well, I guess the encounters take about the same time actually. I was about to say they also take longer, but considering this one here takes 2 hits plus 4, this is actually slower. There was definitely a religious order killing people around that time and keeping it on the down low, and that's about all that is confirmed. Yeah. Well, the thing is, they don't necessarily have had to do anything particularly grand or amazing. It could just be, well, coincidence as it is often the case in the world, that they ended up becoming rather known. Yeah, I guess that's true, Bentley. We're almost already at the money mark that we need for Angel and Flame Rings, so it's actually not gonna be a problem at all, I think. I will want to have a Flame Ring before going into World 2. I don't necessarily need it before that, but it's gonna be a lot easier if I have it before finding the launchers, so that's gonna be a thing too. Let's not. Yeah, let's not. You're not surprised. The end of a lot of things came about by the Mongols. They also brought a lot of things into the world. The end of the Hashashins came about by the Mongols. They made poor decisions. Yeah. I mean, from what I know, the way the Mongols basically operated was the first time that people were actually successfully conquering and also keeping the land. And the strategy involved basically breaking up the families and people there in order to rearrange them and group them with other families and people that have been conquered, so they wouldn't just kind of band together and revolt, so to speak. Something along these lines. Basically, they were really clever about their management on how to effectively prevent people from revolting. Something like that. I don't remember the specifics. At the height of the Great Khanates, you could send a letter safely from China to Italy, which is pretty far. To say the very least. Mongols actually focusing on ending them. I see. Yeah, that seems unhealthy. What did we learn from that? Just be nice to each other, please. I think. At least that's what I'm going to take away from it. So the big question is, after we finally reach level 34, am I going to attempt to defeat Ifrit, or am I just going to try and actually sleep? The only fact that you know about Mongolia is that the country is landlocked. I think that sounds about right. And I think there's a desert goby in there somewhere. And the other thing I know is that if you choose the Mongols in Civilization 1 or 2, enemies or, well, other factions or nations are significantly more likely to cooperate and give you money for your tributes and stuff, or for you threatening them. At least it felt like it. It was probably because I played it on easier difficulties, but who knows? Being nice is cool. I agree. Pretty awesome, you could say. That would be the question of the day. Is the grind enough to make me sleepy? So here's the thing. I don't feel tired per se, but I certainly recognize that my body is starting to be fatigued, so to speak. Like eyelids being heavy and stuff like that, but aside from that, I'm really wide awake. Which is kind of the tricky thing about trying to sleep. If I'm wide awake in my mind, usually just sleeping doesn't work. More fun to talk about kind of this. Yeah. Different question. If you could change one job in a certain way, what would it be in which job? Maybe it could be a minor change, maybe it could be a major one. I'm just curious. So the main thing whenever I'm thinking about that is I would actually change up the Geomancer. And the way I would change up the Geomancer is actually kind of straightforward. You know how the Summoner's final ability is Conjure? What Conjure does, it chooses one of your summons at random and just summons it for no mana cost. And Gaia is pretty much the exact same way, with, well, the ability, well, tied to the terrain you're fighting on top of it. But aside from that, since you can't choose the ability, it however reacts very much similar. So what I would change about the Geomancer is that the Geomancer at some point would start learning to, like, an ability where it's like a Geomancy ability that you can choose which one you want to execute. Like at the 4th level of Geomancer, you learn Control Gaia. I don't know what you want to call it, but it will basically cost you MP to specifically use one Gaia effect rather than it just being chosen randomly. That's the main thing I would change about it. What is the classes? I have to admit I don't understand the question. In Final Fantasy V, you can choose and switch between any job and any class anytime you want. The thing I'm talking about is the Geomancer, which is an interesting class, but very underdeveloped in my opinion. The range change ability. That would be interesting too. No, frogs are friends, not food. When I said feed the frogs, I did not mean feed them to the rabbit. I meant feed the frogs some food, like give them food. Why do people misunderstand that? I mean, rocks are technically edible too. For that matter. Yay, climbers. I like climbers. Up. Why is my chat so red? I can't see anything. Is there a ninja in the chat? Let's see. Wrong like stupid. That was mean. That was mean, Xcodes. Unless there's like a plant that is called a frog leg because it looks like a frog leg. You've been thinking about the question, however you cannot think off the top of your head about a meaningful way of changing any of the classes. Alright, that's fair. Ooh, another elixir. Nice. Well, good thing I didn't go to the ship graveyard and farm 40 elixirs, because we might actually even get to 40 before we hit level 34. At this rate anyways. You always find it weird that the samurai would throw money, but you don't know what kind of change you would do to that. I agree, it is kinda weird. But then again, it is also rather unique, and what other class would you give that ability? To be fair, samurais historically are more like servants rather than something we would expect to have much money, although I don't actually know whether samurais were wealthy or not for that matter. I am not familiar with that. You could allow all classes to use all weapons, but have drawbacks for using weapons without proficiency. That would be really interesting, actually. That would be really interesting. To an extent, that is something you can do in Final Fantasy VI, where you can break rods with any class and any job. Although there's no drawback or, well, malus to it. It's just you can do it. Your understanding is that Zeninish is based on a folk rumor about rich people pelting beggars to death with coins. Ouch. That's rude. Rods could explode and cast themselves instead of the enemy. I'm not a fan of that personally, to be honest. Like, having some form of drawback, I agree with. Maybe they just only deal a portion of the damage and they don't get the stats from the weapon or something like that. But then again, there would also have to be some incentive to actually use those weapons. If they are completely useless, then that's not that great either. 50-50 work or fail. Yeah, here's the thing, I don't actually like chances, but that's me. I do agree that it needs to have a drawback if you would be able to use like rods as a bard. Otherwise, why would you choose certain classes if you can't just equip anything if anything? But I'm not a fan of just it being odds instead. Wouldn't breaking a rod from a non-mage already be somewhat penalized by the worst magic stat, or am I misremembering how they work? No, actually that is accurate. Rods do, if you break them, they do scale off of magic power in this game. If you can equip them. Which is also why it's so silly that the final ability of a Time Mage is equip rods, but equip rods does not transfer the Time Mage's magic power over to the other class. At least I think it doesn't. Wait, let me actually confirm that real quick. At least I think it doesn't. Let's see. Yeah, I think equip rods does actually not transfer the magic power stat for the Time Mage, which is why equip rods is kind of a weird ability. Grooming? Right. Take care, Kansas. Have a nice day. I have to admit I do not understand, but that's okay. Take care, Don Loser, and have a nice day. White Mages and Geomancers. Yes, White Mages, Geomancers. Bards actually have decent magic stat for that matter. I guess you could also say ninjas benefit from it to an extent, because it boosts their magic power if they equip elemental rod by 50%. Or not the magic power, but the elemental damage they deal. But I guess the downside is that you don't get the magic power if you do that as a ninja. And I don't know whether 50% more damage of the ninja's base damage would be better than just adding the magic power. It will probably depend on the enemy. You would like to see Dragoons have a change. As a melee class, they are rather underwhelming. I mean, they are basically backline tanks. Like, mainly focused on survival, whereas they can deal full damage from the back row too. With heavy armor. Yeah, it's true. Dragoons have the unfortunate placement where they don't really fit into any party per se. Like, they don't really synergize with anything in particular. Oh cool, I have a really blue major bard now. Yeah, it's true. Honestly, I really like Dragoons as a concept and characters, but aside from being very self-sufficient and just good because they can equip heavy armor and shields, that's about it. Spears aren't that exciting, unfortunately. The only synergy for Dragoons I can think of is, on one hand, if they use their Absorb ability, whatever it's called in which version, on Mage classes, in order for the Mage classes to sustain themselves. But generally speaking, I never really use it, because I have enough MP to get from save point to save point and just use tents or houses, or cabins I guess. So that's not usually an issue, although it is nice to have. But the only other synergy there is, I feel like, is with Dancer, for some reason. Like, Dancers have a specific type of dagger that deals double damage, kind of like spears do when you equip them and jump with them. It's the Man-Eater dagger. And combining Dancer with jump, or for example equip ribbons on a Dragoon, which does allow you to equip Dancer-only equipment. It's not just ribbons, it's actually Dancer-only equipment, like the Man-Eater dagger, as well as... Oh, level 33, nice. Man-Eater dagger, ribbons, rainbow armor, and I think red shoes are the equipments you can equip with the ability equip ribbons. So if you equip ribbons to a Dragoon and the Man-Eater dagger, and you actually deal a ton of damage to phase 1 of Neo X Death. Or 3x death, I guess. They're pretty much the tankiest class, but that's not super exciting. Yes, that's kind of the tricky thing. Very self-sufficient, but doesn't really synergize. And yes, X Ghost, that sounds about right. Lancet? I think it's called Lancet in some translations. The fan translation, I think, calls it Dragon. I think it calls it Dragoon? No. No, it doesn't. Was it Lance? I don't remember. Dragon Sword? Dragon Sword sounds right. I think that's the Game Boy Advance version. And I think Lance is for the Final Fantasy V fan translation. I think. But yeah, basically, I think Dragoon and as well as Geomancers are interesting in their own right, but it feels like they're kind of lacking something that makes them more interesting or exciting to use. And yeah, Solid Dragoon was really strong overall. Not the strongest, but very solid. Enjoyed Final Fantasy IX's Freya Dragoon Ultimate, where it gets stronger the more dragons you defeat. Yes, well, I used that in order to defeat the gigantic candy thing. Whatever it was called. That worked actually surprisingly well. Ozma is rude. Yeah, I actually looked up how the mechanics work. So, at some point when I was just trying out things against Ozma, I started to realize that unlike any other boss, I cannot just wait in my menu in order to queue commands. I just have to queue all of my commands at the same time. Otherwise, Ozma always gets a turn in between. And what I've read about it is actually, as soon as you hover your cursor over Ozma, Ozma gets a turn. So basically, you have to queue all your abilities during Ozma's turn, otherwise Ozma will get immediately another turn. And that is really rude. Oh yeah, countering on top of it too. I ended up managing to do it with spamming heals. On 2 cactus, I think, I spammed Big Guard on Queena. And it's just the dragon ability to defeat it. humans should at least have one interesting ability to throw around. That's true. It is very unique in that. Stainless charge ability is the easy but dangerous way to kill Ozma. Right, the thing is, I decided to go into Ozma with no spoilers, so I had no idea whether rushing it down with certain amounts of damage is even viable. I was strongly considering Steiner's charge, because that seemed really crazy good if you just specifically set up for it. Tiamat shared that ability? Wait, what is Tiamat? I forget. We have 18 leather shoes on this character. That was a lot of leather shoes. I never used to use cotton robe. I've never actually sold anything, have I? Keep the knife. Okay, almost 100,000, which is my goal in the end, I guess. The three-headed dragon boss fiend. I assume that was on the way to the final boss, because I do believe that was a throwback to Final Fantasy 1 as a gauntlet thing. But I imagine Tiamat is not nearly as powerful, so I probably didn't have that much trouble with it. The fiends were all Final Fantasy 1 references. Right. I think there was Kerry, Tiamat, probably Lich. Also somewhere there was a side boss, Hades. Not Tiamat, Kraken is the one that does that. Interesting, I had no idea there was another one as well. The class I don't like drawing in Forza Fiesta is Beastmaster. You know it can be really powerful, it's just a pain in the butt to use as well. Yes. I fully understand. For me, Beastmaster is kind of nice at this point because I have a bunch of experience routing Beastmaster thanks to the opening race for the Forza Fiesta season, which we had Beastmaster twice now. And it's really interesting to just route and try to optimize it. And thanks to that, I don't mind Beastmaster. Plus, it is also part of one of my favorite strategies in this game, where you use equip whips, turn a character into a zombie, equip the flame butte, give that character also a reflect ring, and then just hide with another character. And then you just wait until the enemies are dead, assuming they are vulnerable to fire. Reminds you of Psycho Saiyan glitch. Yeah, except Psycho Saiyan is not intended at all, whereas the zombie reflect is just clever use of game mechanics. Ozma's attacks are much more devastating, so targeting Ozma is very punishing. Kraken will counter with Ink or Water Go, which is not as punishing but time consuming. I see. I imagine that's mainly relevant for speedruns. Oh, do you mean the counterpart or also the targeting with the... You mean the targeting, you just said that, never mind. By the way, how much experience do we get per encounter here? I don't even remember. I just remember that it's more efficient to grind on the field here rather than anywhere else. Because abilties are not the highest experience encounters right here. They are still decent. And most of all, they are consistently to be defeated without having to use like an antidote or something else that you have to use in other areas. They do give more experience than the enemies inside the steamship, for example, as well as they are not nearly as tough as the enemies in the desert, which would give more experience. But good luck on beating them consistently. Especially the bears, for example, have actually really high defense. So plinking them to death with daggers is kind of slow as well. Good morning to you, Cinderflame. And welcome to you as well, Alien Bob. How many times do I suppose I have beaten Final Fantasy V? At least 12 times, based on previous solo challenges. And then I would guess like 30-ish? 30 to 40 more times, so I guess like 50 times, something along those lines. I mean, at least 12, yeah. Ozma's lore is that it's an eidolon that lost its form because nobody knows about Ozma anymore. Wait, there's actually lore to Ozma? Now I'm curious. The Graveyard Red is all the lore you get. I see. I have to admit, I don't actually know what an eidolon is, aside from these huge, hulking, gigantic and powerful creatures. Like, what are eidolons? How do they exist? Who created them? Or are they basically like deities or something like that? What is their background? Also, my water is out. I'm gonna go and grab some more water in just a second here. So, be right back, getting more water. Why are we in the save screen? Oh. Weird. 3 moth! That's a lot of viewers. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. And welcome everybody. Thank you very much for the host. How is everybody doing over there, if I may ask? We're currently playing Final Fantasy V. Solo character challenge with just a single job class, and that is the Bard. One of the more, well, let's say ridiculous ones to try and take on. But I think we've done worse before. Welcome everybody, I hope you're doing well. And thank you, Remoth. Hello, how are you doing? And if I may ask, what were you doing over there? You're doing fine, but you're about to get your face wrecked. Well, I hope not literally. But good luck to you. Welcome to you, Pucciaroni, Blaze of Flamewing, Kamikaze Maniac, and anybody who may have joined us or has been lurking for a while. Still easier than Berserker. I mean, Berserker is just a lottery. Like almost a literal lottery if you try to win it. Max monster spawn on the vanilla game? Wait, hang on. That sounds interesting. Let me pull up your VOD real quick. Is that a mod or something like that, or...? And hey Jeffrey is welcome. It's been a while indeed for Final Fantasy V. Because I just didn't feel like grinding. Only recently I felt like going back for it. Because I actually realized that, and that's my main motivation, there's actually a much better strategy that you can employ against XDeath at the end of World 2. Holy moly, that's a lot of enemies. It's a mod, max monsters slash elites per area, everything else is vanilla. Oh my goodness. That actually looks like fun. Nice. I have no idea how to even tackle that. Yes, we progressed since last time. We can now go to the library. The thing is, I decided that level 34 is going to be my goal in order to try and tackle that. So that's currently what I'm trying to reach. Which is why we are just running outside in circles. You just hide during the condemned turn. Even better than that, Jeffries. I'm going to make it so I will try to increase the speed so we're going to be faster than XDeath. That way I get in... Basically, I unhide right after XDeath takes a turn. I take my action, like using a high potion to heal, and then hide again after XDeath's next action. That way I can specifically choose during which action I'm going to be around. So what I'm going to do is, instead of just hiding during the condemned turn, I'm going to be hiding during everything except for the turn where he uses a level 3 flare. 2 out of 3 times. And I'm just gonna defeat him with that. Gonna be relatively slow, but way faster than running him out of magic. Plus, running him out of magic is actually a bad idea, since what are you gonna do in phase 2? Plink him to death really slowly while he can do potential double attacks? Sounds dangerous. Does that mean Bard is really overpowered once you get to World 3? Just hide plus haste? Yes, actually, to an extent. As long as it's only one enemy. I didn't even think about that. But yes, pretty much. It's fun if you're a masochist. I may like to, or I may enjoy certain stupid challenges, so people keep telling me that I'm a masochist, which I disagree. I just enjoyed stupid challenges, and this definitely falls into the territory of stupid challenge, and I love it. We were worried about the final boss because of no singing. I've been trying to brainstorm that one a bit, and the strategy I came up with is I'm just going to go ahead and probably grind a bunch of levels in the underground with Requiem in order to have a decent amount of HP. And then you can absolutely destroy Grand Cross and the part on the left, and then it's just you need to have enough elixirs to defeat the rest. which really shouldn't be that difficult, as long as you have enough maximum HP to survive a vacuum wave plus Almagest. Comfortably anyways, you should be fine. Plus you might be able to sing in phase 2 for that matter. Tentacle, by the way, inflicts aging status, which means I gradually lose all of my stats, like strength, agility, magic power, etc. And I will deal significantly less damage on each subsequent turn. So it's just better to run away if that happens. Tentacle specifically inflicts aging status. Hell Diablo 2 pacifist when? I don't think you can do Hell. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe monster regeneration is too strong. But you can do normal. I've gotten up to Chaos Sanctuary with a pacifist run. Like you would expect, disease was a problem. But it's doable with my strategy. I just haven't done the thing. You can do Nightmare too, you've done tests. Oh, that's interesting. Like, you can defeat disease in Nightmare. It's very hard, but yes. Wow. Honestly, the grinding portion was already quite interesting in normal mode. I feel like Nightmare would be, well, a nightmare. Use Conviction in combo with the Nova procs. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. Potato. But yeah, actually, do you by chance have a link to that mod? Because that might be something I might want to try sometime. Thank you, Flamewing. Yeah, the Diablo 2 mod. So many monsters sounds like fun. And I see it's literally called that. I figured. You recommend Necromancer? I was thinking of maybe Druid with rabies. That would be like fun. Although I do like the Amazon as well. I guess Necromancer with Corpse Explosion could be a lot of fun too. You need mana per kill? You absolutely do, it's true. I guess Fire is kind of okay, but Rabies sounds more fun. Let's see, what else could you do? A Drooling Druid. Yeah, pretty much. Rabies in Diablo 2 is an ability that, if you inflict an enemy with it, it's a pretty heavy-hitting poison damage over time effect. And the strong thing about it is that it can afflict enemies that are just adjacent to that enemy. So that means you can effectively just bite one enemy, inflict a heavy poison damage over time effect, and they just inflict that to all the other enemies that they come in contact with, and they then spread it further, and it just spreads like a fire through the entire enemy lines. And I imagine that's gonna be very similar there. I think Assassin Traps could be fun too. Nova Sorcerers? That makes sense. Hedge Roulette? Oh. What else could there be? Paladin sounds kinda boring. I guess Barbarian with the Battle Shout would be fun until you reach Hell. I guess actually you would level significantly faster in Nightmare thanks to that. Because nightmare enemies actually die reasonably quick to a shot. There's no way you can do a barb unless you import a previously existing one. Why not? I mean, to be fair, I guess it could be tricky to reach like level 30, but once you are 30, you can probably just shout everything to death. There might be some details or intricacies that I'm missing though. Like the main thing I'm thinking of is a shouting barbarian that literally used for a speedrun for hell runs, where you just stun enemies with the shout. We've been trying to do player 8 Hellbar for a bit. I'm not sure about player 8, that probably doesn't work. Too much HP on the enemies for shouting. Player 1 is just fine. It's doable? Oh my god. $70 now? Wow. I mean, that's still basically faster than what I did. I guess player 8 helps you in the beginning, and also the leveling portion, but after that it probably is a nightmare to get through hell. Which sounds a bit weird, I guess. Just screwed up because of fatigue. Yeah. I mean, my hell hardcore barbarian run is like 15 or so or 16 hours, so I'm slower than that with just a normal one. If you kill Mephisto at level 1, you immediately get level 30. Wait, a regular Mephisto or Nightmare or Hell Mephisto, Kaneki? Normal? Yeah. Unless there's a slingshot effect. That might have been some experience changes involved as well. I don't think slingshot effects exist in Diablo 2. Because unless you are within 5 levels of the enemy, you only get 5% of the experience. But yeah, either way, that sounds interesting. Experience overflow? Progressing the nightmare before level 25. Yes, 25 it is. I mean, there can absolutely be quirks that I just don't know about. Also, what level am I? 33 still. 1000. Hey, that's actually just about 3 encounters left until we reach level 34. Then we can try Ifrit. You know, it's really weird early, but what are the options the card has to fight X-Death? Which one do you mean? The final boss, Mr. Crimson, or the one at the end of World 2? Was that another elixir? 38! Nice, almost 40. I almost get my 40 elixirs. Neo XF? Yeah. The way this is going to work is mainly since we cannot sing in phase 1, because for some reason the physical attacks of Neo XF in phase 1, or well the 3 XF, does not knock you out of singing, so we can never actually increase our stats doing that. Is we just have to go into phase 2 with whatever we have. Phase 2 is going to be interesting, so the magic lamp as usual will take care of the far left part, the magic part, so that's instantly dead. Then we actually absolutely destroy the Grand Cross part of XDEF by using the Apollo's Harp, like the legendary weapon, because it deals 8 times damage and ignores defense against dragons, and the Grand Cross part is considered a dragon. So you have 2 parts on lockdown really easily. And then I think what will happen is that as long as I have enough maximum HP, I can just hide from the Almagest and heal through the physical damage from the physical part of the thing. And then use the magic lamp to finish off the 2 parts simultaneously in the end. Can Bard wear the Mirage Vest? I don't think so. I think Mirage Vest is considered medium armor, so I think mages cannot equip it. This is where you try to go back to bed. Wish you good luck with that, Cinderflame. Have a good night. But yeah, we can't just hide from Almagest now that I think about it, so it's not even a concern about surviving Almagest, so you just hide from it. No problem. Hiding Almagest shouldn't make the Neophyte relatively easily. Yeah, it's going to be relatively easy anyways, because we will have a boatload of levels on the Bard. I do plan on doing the Twin Towers, getting the submarine, and then just walking back and forth in the trench for a while. With Requiem, you destroy everything in one shot, I think. And we are level 34. My prediction about HP was wrong. Oh. Actually, that's not true. I would get over 1000, I think. I get 1 more level. Either way, we stock up on potions and we will try Ifrit like 2 or 3 times. And then I will probably try to go to bed as well. Firefox, please be nice. Why do you always have to update? Sometimes I'm wondering whether Chrome just doesn't update or it does that a lot more subtly. And I assume it's the second one. Firefox just kind of goes, oh yeah, just need to do the update real quick. Every time. So, alrighty. Let's see, where is my spreadsheet thing? A cheat sheet. Bard. Scroll down to Ifrit. Oh, I don't even have Ifrit's AI scripts copied. Let me do this real quick. Good morning to you, Crow, and welcome. How are you doing? Let's see, save. And I'm gonna do a thing real quick. Ifrit, just a regular one. Oh, the AI script is actually very straightforward. Oop. He has exactly 2 different turns. And he has 40 speed, which actually explains that. I've already checked that last time. That's why I didn't mark it down, I guess. Wait, and... oh wait, no, that's wrong. Background I need to change. There we go. So, what I just did here is I updated my little notes thingy real quick. So, the next boss is going to be Ifrit. This guy here. So Ifrit has a speed of 40, which unfortunately means he's going to be faster than us, so he will always react before us, and hiding in between attacks is not exactly going to be a thing. At least not efficiently. And his AI script is pretty straightforward. In his first turn, he has a 1 in 3 chance for each of his abilities to use Flame, Fire 2 or Fire 2, which means most of the time he will just use, well, Fire 2. Fire 2 means that it will deal like, I think 250 to 300-ish damage to us. And Flame is actually almost exactly a bit less than 250 damage. Because Flame is an ability that deals damage to your entire party based on 25% of your maximum HP. So that's Flame. Flame he can also use in the second turn, where he can also use Fight, which is just a regular attack, which is probably what we would like to see in his second turn, or Specialty, which is a physical attack and a stun on top of it, which is what we would like to not see, but with a Guardian Dagger as well as a Elf Cape, we have a 50% chance to avoid it anyways. So the strategy could be that we just hide until he literally runs out of magic. He has 1000 MP, and Fire 2 costs like, what, 18? So every other turn he has a 2 in 3 chance to waste a bunch of MP, and we could just literally wait for like 40 minutes, where he would mostly waste his time trying to cast Fire 2 while he has no more MP left. But let's just try to fight him straight up, I would suggest. Because that would just kinda take a long time. Alrighty, Fire 2 is 1050, so yeah. His first turn will always deal about that. He has 3000 HP. I deal that much damage, so it's about 15 attacks until he gets defeated. So that's... never mind, it's more. So many flames though. And at this point I will have to heal. I'm just gonna use a high potion here, I guess. High potions heals 500, but unless you have a thief, you have a very finite amount of high potions. It's attack number 3. So we need like 5, 10... we're gonna get... wait, no, 50. 5 is 1000. 10 is 2000. 15. So I think we actually need 15 attacks, so this is attack number 3. And I think I also need to heal now. Because a Fire 2 would kill me. So, unfortunately, High Kick can stun us, and stun is the worst enemy in solo character challenge runs, because you can't do anything, you lose your entire ATB, and you have to hope that you don't get stunned immediately again, pretty much. So this will cost us a lot of elixirs if we do it this way, but it's going to be a lot faster than running him out of MP. Flame. Next is Fire 2, or Flame again, because he's in turn 1. Then it's Fight, High Kick, or Flame again. There we go, he used the physical attack. We survived the next attack no matter what. This is attack number 6 on our end. Next turn he can use High Kick, Flame, and whatever, so we have to heal again. That's elixir number 3. Start fight, hide, go to bed, wake up when MP depleted. Yes, I was considering that, but I just kind of wanted to maybe do this with Biblos instead, where I would get to Biblos and then we start the fight with that. By the way, he has like a 20% chance to dodge, but thanks to dagger that's halved, so it's like 10. It's a decent high chance to dodge. We will survive the next turn, but if he stuns us, we are in trouble. In fact, if he stuns us, we are dead. So maybe I should have healed up first. Fun fact, if you confuse Ifrit, he will cast Fire 3 on himself. It's actually a thing he can do. He could cast Fire 3, he just doesn't use it on you for some reason. Also, next turn indeed he can stun us again, but again, even if he does use it, we don't have a 50% chance to block it. Also, I lost count of how many times I attacked. I think we are at approximately 10 now. So this is actually going pretty decent overall. Nice. Good block, Ferris. Oh! Oh, if I realized that, I would have probably saved my elixir there. That's okay. Alrighty, Ifrit down with no deaths. Very nice. Also, that reminds me, I should update my death counts at this point. We had 0 deaths on Iron Claw, 0 deaths on Ifrit at this point. Actually, I did have at least 1 death on Liquid Flame, didn't I? Because I think I tried it. Did I not try it? I don't remember. It's been too long. But yeah, Ifrit, with this high of a level, we have enough of a HP buffer that it's not that big of a deal if we get stunned as long as we heal beforehand. Obviously the big difficulty is when we don't have that much HP, or if I, well, haven't healed in a while. But it went actually pretty well. Back attack. Ow. Alrighty, and I was considering the following for Biblos. So Biblos, we almost certainly could run out of MP, but the question is how useful that would be. Actually, that's not true. We have to run Biblos out of MP, so he cannot cast armor now that I think about it. Never mind, ignore that. So, we have to run Biblos out of MP, but I think I wanted to make a test run or two in order to see how reasonable it is for me to survive for a while. So, there's that. Or do we just go in cold turkey? Do we go back or front row? I think front row is better. Alright, let's do this. Or not. Alrighty, so this is Biblos. He does a lot of physical damage, if he decides to do so. And what he can do as a bard is hide. What the enemy tries to do is he will continuously try to use abilities and attacks. And whenever he uses something alongside the idea of Magic Hammer, it would just kind of drain his MP. Now the question is, it keeps showing ineffective. Wouldn't it normally actually show... Huh? Who were the other 3s in the cutscene? Oh, those are our imaginary friends. Don't worry about them. Either way... Excuse me. I'm actually... Wow. Alright, let's try this again. Either way, I don't actually know whether he actually uses up MP right now. I think normally it displayed the magic text, and then it actually haven't hidden in a while, so... This could be tricky. Either way, what also is tricky is that, as you could see, he dealt like 370 damage in one physical attack. And let me tell you, this guy is really mean. So if you look at his move pool, In the first turn, he uses Threat, Hammer or Fight. Whereas Hammer and Fight are the desirable outcomes, you do not want to see Threat. Threat applies slow to your character, and slow is the worst debuff in the entire game if you get afflicted by it. You go literally like 3 times slower in comparison to the enemy all of a sudden. Like right now, we are slightly slower than Biblos, because he also has speed 40. But with Threat, he would go about 3 times for us going 1 turn. So that would be really, really not good. His second turn, he uses Fight, Charm or Wind Slash. Here again, Fight is technically one of the desirable outcomes, but really only Charm is particularly good for you. Wind Slash does like, I would think 300 damage or 250 damage to your entire party, so it's also really, really devastating overall. On Fight, as you could see, it already does a ton of damage. Then in the third turn, he uses Hammer, Fight or Threat. Once again, you really don't want to see Threat. I just realized that's the exact same as the first turn. Interesting. And then the fourth turn, he uses Sonic Wave, Wind Slash or Fight. You do not want to see Sonic Wave, ever. Wind Slash is painful, okay. Fight, well, we can at least physically dodge it if we are lucky with the Mangosh or the Elven Cape. But Sonic Wave halves our level, which means we would deal a lot less damage with our physical attack, and we already deal very little damage in the first blow. The worst debuff, not like say Doom. I mean, fair. I guess Doom you could consider a debuff, it's true. But at least on Doom, if you're high enough level and have a correct character class, you can technically still kill the enemy with it. I guess with slow too. But slow is just annoying, whereas Doom is just, well, try again in the solo character challenge. Either way, this guy is a monster. And let me actually see whether we can reasonably do this. I'm gonna show and just kind of try to fight him for a second here. Ineffective? Wait. That was weird. What? Wait, hang on. Ineffective. Magic Hammer. Okay, turn 1 or 3 this is. That's interesting. I wonder whether we can manipulate this to happen, where he just keeps using ineffective text. So I think because I attacked him and he checked whether he should counterattack or not, he ended up snapping out of it. This guy is one of the troublemakers for the Fiesta too. He absolutely is. He has, by the way, 3600 HP, so that means we need at least 18 attacks if he doesn't armor up. And that's one of the big reasons why you want to round him out of magic. If he armors up, he only takes half the physical damage. On top of that, another big problem about this guy is that once he drops below 900 HP, he will counterattack with Drain, and that will absorb about, I think, 200 damage from you as a counterattack and heal him with that. So, yeah. You hope it will show when he's out of MP. That's a good point. I assume it does. Either way, I just want to test out a little bit here. Let's actually just wait. Does he keep doing this? Nope. Alright. Wind Slash, 210. Okay, that's good to know. Wind Slash is actually not as bad as Fight. But then again, we can block the Fight, so that might potentially be better. So, let's see. That was either turn 1 or turn 3 just now. ineffective. So this is now turn 2 or 4. No, that... Wait. Wind Slash is turn 2 or 4. Then he physically attacked those one turn 1 or 3. Now... he's going to go turn 3 or 4. Let's see what he does. Charm. Charm is, by the way, super bad as well if you get hit by it. Because you don't just lose your turn. Your character also attacks themselves, or even buffs Biblos if they have any buff spells. Also, at this time, we actually know where we are in the thing. This was actually the Wind Slash from turn 4, so that means Biblos is now going to be back at turn 1 with his AI script. So the question is whether it depends on when I hide, or whether it depends on when I unhide. For this to be turn 3 right now. Turn 4 is now. I'm going to unhide on turn 4. After turn 4, I guess. Let's see. Okay, still does the thing. I attack once. Okay, he snapped out of it after I attacked him. That's good to know. But this is turn 4 here. Turn 1. Turn 2. Turn 3. Now the turn 4 I'm going to show again. No, he still hit me. Alright, there's the threat, and that's the bad part. By the way, he still hasn't used armor up. He has a 2 in 3 chance to counter-attack with armor, which is kinda crazy that he still hasn't done that. Thank you for hitting me out of confusion. And Sonic Wave. Now my level is halved. So I dealt about 200 damage before, right? Just look at this. I deal 100. That's way less. And yeah, the Charm alone is the reason why you want to run him out of magic, because Charm and Magic Hammer cost MP, but none of his other abilities do. Wind Slash, Threat, and Sonic Wave are all abilities that do not cost any MP. But it looks like we would actually survive decently well for the most part, even if we get slowed. We just need to hope that we don't get slowed too quickly. Unfortunately, he has 2 turns where he can use Threat, otherwise we could potentially try to avoid the Threat turn. But yeah, I think this might work overall. If we just go for it, so to speak. So, alrighty, what I'm gonna be doing is I will briefly reset this. This does count as a death, by the way, in case you're curious. Even if I was just testing, this does count as a death. So I will reset this, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to bed. But I will also just hide off screen with the Bard until Biblos runs out of MP. Or maybe he doesn't run out of MP, we'll see. Alrighty, everybody, this is it from me for today. This is a rather spontaneous stream, to say the very least. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to approximate how long it takes to run him out of MP and restart the timer there. Just for reference. And I hope everybody enjoyed this show. So we managed to reach level 34 within, I think it was like 2 hours of grinding, a little bit more than that. And we had a good discussion during it. We defeated Ifrit first try, and I have a pretty good idea that we can defeat Biblos if we don't get really unlucky. Probably. We'll see. I'm going to resume this the next day after I hopefully get some sleep finally. And that's that. Thank you very much for watching, for listening and for lurking, and hopefully until next time. Good night.